My name is Thomas, and I'm an office worker. I live with my wife Denise and my daughter Carmen. I used to live in an apartment, so I always dreamed of owning a house. I want to grow up quickly and buy a house. I've been thinking about such things since I was a child. Unfortunately, my parents passed away early. But I met my wife and was blessed with a daughter. And since my job was going well, I was finally able to purchase my dream home last year. I'm not trying to brag, but it was a newly built home, that was something I was particular about. However, the joy was short-lived, as my MIL suddenly passed away. My MIL was a kind person who truly loved me. As someone without parents, I really thought of her as a true parent. When I decided that I couldn't stay sad forever and resolved to pick myself up, my wife and daughter's behavior started to become strange.
Oh, there's no food for dinner today.
What? If you had told me, I could have picked something up on my way home.
It's fine. Carmen and I already ate.
Huh?
There's none for you.
She said that, and I began to receive more emotionless gazes from her.
Hey Dad.
Carmen, I'm home.
I'm going to buy a new bag, so give me some money.
Didn't you just buy one recently?
That was then, this is now.
I can't give you any right now.
Then why did you come home?
Somehow, I've ended up being neglected by both my wife and daughter. One Sunday, my wife and daughter were deep in conversation in the living room. It's rare for the two of you to be home on a weekend. You know what? How about we all go out to eat together after such a long time? I tried to speak to them as cheerfully as possible. I was filled with the desire to reclaim my family. Carmen, what do you want to eat? There was no response from my daughter. Still, I steeled myself and spoke to my wife. How about we get some sushi that you like, Denise?
Since it seems like today is a turning point, let's splurge a little and get the premium stuff.
My daughter burst out laughing at my wife's words. I was puzzled, but I took out my phone and started searching. That's when it happened. The doorbell rang, breaking the silence in the room.
That must be him.
My wife said happily as she got up. I wonder if that person is a visitor. Should we order extra sushi? My wife didn't respond to my words and quickly headed to the front door. After a while, I heard my wife's sweet voice. While having a bad feeling, I gazed at the entrance to the living room.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
I froze as the unexpected man entered, dropping my phone. Not only did the man come in, but he and my wife were arm in arm. This was completely out of the ordinary, wasn't it? Denise, who is that guy? I desperately tried to keep my trembling emotions in check and forced the words out.
Oh, is that you, Thomas? This is Bob. Nice to meet you.
The grating accent easily attacked my composure. Would you mind telling me about your relationship with my wife?
Huh, Denise, didn't you tell him about us?
Sorry, this guy is always home late.
The sticky, drawing speech made me lose any sense of composure. Anyway, what brings you here? I knew it wasn't going to be anything good.
I sold the house.
Huh. I was prepared for it not to be good, but what she was saying was so off base that I shouted.
$500,000.
I see.
And there was still about half the mortgage left, so please take care of that. I've prepared the divorce papers, and you're at fault. If you're going to complain, there will be alimony.
I'm at fault. What was the reason? I had no idea what she was talking about, so I stared at the papers in shock as I asked.
I was so lonely. You'd come home so late every night, and if dinner wasn't ready, you'd get mad. I've reached my limit.
She said, covering her face with her hands. Bob was pretending to console her in an exaggerated manner.
Denise, don't cry. Thomas, it's time to give her freedom.
Hey, if this was a stage play, the audience would be throwing things. This guy's terrible. I swallowed the words that were about to come out of my mouth and picked up the divorce papers. Sitting down, I filled them out without hesitation. Carmen, I faced my daughter, who had been idly playing with her nails the whole time. Your mom and I are getting divorced, but what about you? My daughter looked up with an annoyed expression and simply said,
Mom.
I see.
Oh, and be sure to take care of the university tuition, of course.
She said flatly without a hint of emotion. Got it. That's a parent's duty. With that, I handed the completed divorce papers to my wife.
I'll file these myself. Pack your belongings quickly and leave.
Okay, if you're going to say that much, I'll leave. You won't regret the house.
Nope, I won't.
I then shut myself in my room upstairs and started cleaning it up. I didn't have that many personal belongings, so the packing and cleaning were done quickly. Fortunately, I was able to find another place to live through a friend. 3 days after that day, I left the house. Well then. I'm going. I peeked quietly into the living room. In the living room, my wife, daughter, and Bob were frantically packing. They were going to temporarily live in an apartment they rented in order to sell this house. I didn't know if they couldn't hear my voice or if they were deliberately avoiding looking this way. Without anyone to see me off, I left my dream home. As I stepped outside and looked back once, various memories flashed through my mind. There were my wife's smiles and my daughter's smiles. I gently raised the corners of my mouth and took a new step forward. The new apartment I moved into was for single occupancy, and it seemed like a lot of different people lived there. The most interesting thing was the tea party that was occasionally held in the shared space. There was even a cake stand, making it a pretty serious afternoon tea.
Are you starting to get used to this apartment?
Yes. Everyone is so nice, and it's been a real lifesaver.
I'm glad to hear that. Oh, this cake is delicious.
The woman speaking so calmly is Catherine. We became close after seeing each other a few times at the tea parties. It really is delicious. I dug into the same cake as Catherine and we exchanged smiles, savoring the happy moment. At that moment, my phone in my pocket started vibrating. I checked the screen inside. Catherine looked at me with a slightly worried expression, so I quickly raised the corners of my mouth. It's my ex-wife. Catherine softly murmured, "Ah," and smiled, saying,
This moment has arrived.
"Yes." I stepped away from the gathering and pressed the call button.
Can you come over for a bit?
My ex-wife must have been quite flustered. She was shouting in broken English without a subject. I almost burst out laughing, but I gently asked, "What's wrong, Denise? Calm down. Where are you now?" Compared to the threepenny show between my ex-wife and that Bob, this is a pretty good performance. I suppressed the corners of my mouth.
There are a lot of documents I don't understand, and it seems serious. I'm at a cafe with Carmen right now. I'll email you the address. Please come.
The call then abruptly cut off, and a few minutes later, the address of the cafe was sent. Well then. Shall I go? I muttered to myself, gathered my valuables, and left the apartment. I arrived at the designated cafe. The interior, which looked perfect for social media, was exactly the kind of decor my ex-wife and daughter would like. As I was thinking about that, I spotted my ex-wife and daughter. Despite calling me in such a panicked voice, they were now engrossed in taking photos of the desserts they had ordered. Could it be that they were expecting me to somehow fix this?
You're late.
My ex-wife noticed me and said shortly. It's been a while, huh? Have you been doing well?
I'm not doing well. Look at this.
On the table my ex-wife pointed to, there was a mountain of documents. Wow. You really managed to accumulate a lot, didn't you? My daughter didn't even look this way.
What is all this? The home loan, my part should have been paid off.
I went through the documents one by one. I see. To put it bluntly, if you can't pay it all at once, it'll end up in bankruptcy.
Huh. Huh.
They really are parent and child, in perfect sync, I applauded inwardly.
What do you mean?
First of all, that house belongs to you and Carmen.
I know that. That's why I sold it.
Which means the mortgage was also yours.
Huh. The mortgage contract was in my mom's name. Remember when we did the funeral? You and I were listed as the debtors.
Denise, you used up the inheritance, didn't you?
I did. It was my inheritance, after all.
At that point, your mom's debts also became part of your inheritance. My ex-wife's gaze was lost. She probably couldn't keep up with the content of the conversation.
Didn't you inherit an estate too?
I did. But I didn't touch the inheritance at all. And I renounced the inheritance.
Why?
Your mom knew everything.
Huh.
She knew all about what you were doing. And she also knew what kind of actions you would take after she was gone. My ex-wife glared bitterly at the floor. It turned out that she and her mom had a poor parent-child relationship. That's why, when your mom realized her time was coming, she advised me to not use the inheritance, so that you could renounce it while it was still possible. What a terrible parent, doubting my daughter. Your mom was crying, you know. My ex-wife responded shortly with an unamused expression.
But I don't care about that. What's important now is this paperwork.
My ex-wife snorted through her nose, pointing at the documents with her chin.
You're still my husband, right? Even if you're an ex now. Hey. Come on.
My daughter, who had been silently eating her cake, suddenly spoke up while looking at her phone.
A message from Bob says the utilities have been shut off.
What?
Electricity, gas, water, they're not working.
As I watched the two of them start to panic, I tilted my head. Why was Bob's message coming to my daughter? That's probably because the credit card got blacklisted.
Don't say stupid things. It was working just yesterday.
Well then, why don't you try paying for something here as a test? My ex-wife went to the register with a disgruntled expression. My daughter and I followed behind her. The result was, as expected, that it didn't work. My ex-wife looked at me with a dejected expression, but I felt no emotion towards her.
Hey, Bob is saying we should come back.
My daughter, still looking at her phone, spoke up to us. Has my daughter been constantly messaging Bob? I felt somewhat uneasy about this situation.
Let's go back. You should come too.
Why?
You need to explain the situation to Bob as well.
Hey, what's going on here?
As soon as we arrived at the apartment, Bob asked irritatedly.
Somehow I've inherited the debt too, and there's still a mortgage left.
My ex-wife kept glancing at me, prompting me to explain. I let out a big sigh and explained again what I had already explained at the cafe. I also briefly explained the piled-up documents as best I could. You've probably heard of a reminder, but this demand letter is a step above that.
So,
There were a few chances to make payments, but Denise ignored them. And that's when the acceleration letter and subrogation arrived. If those come, you have to pay the full amount at once, and it will damage your credit, putting your credit card on the blacklist.
It's too complicated for me to really understand, but if we just pay the full amount, that's it, right?
Yeah. $600,000.
huh?
My ex-wife turned pale and started gaping.
That much money? What are you saying?
I'm just explaining what I can. I can't do anything else. I answered flatly and tried to leave.
Wait. Even if I am an ex, your wife is in trouble. Do something, you heartless person.
I sighed heavily, wondering what gave her the right to say that. There is one option.
What?
Back in the day, I used to adore the smile filled with my wife's expectations. Now, I got a rejection. Bankruptcy.
Ugh. It sounds like a hassle. Let's just end this.
Bob stretched with a laugh.
Debts, blacklists. I'd rather not deal with that stuff. No way, no way.
This must have been his true nature. Well, I pretty much knew that already. The one who was really surprised was my ex-wife.
It'll be fine. We can use the money from selling the house to pay it all off.
Huh. So you can buy a high-rise condo, right?
But, you'll be patient this time, and I'll save money again.
Yeah, mom's an influencer, so she makes money, right?
For some reason, my daughter was also desperately trying to appease Bob.
Yes, yes. If I work harder to increase my popularity, the sponsorship deals will increase, and if Bob, you can help me save up, we can buy the high-rise condo right away.
Ha. So Bob, you are the breadwinner, huh? Denise is only making around $1,000 a month, right?
What, you're making $5,000 a month?
Yeah, mom said that because dad couldn't earn, she's the one making money.
How rude. A few times. I've reached $5,000. So if I just keep working hard.
No way. Let's break up after all. No way, no way.
No, I don't want to break up.
I wondered if there was any point in me being here. Tired, I decided to drop one last bomb. Carmen, that bracelet is lovely. Is it a matching set with Bob's necklace? The air temperature dropped suddenly to below freezing. Mother and daughter stared at each other with eyes that would strike down whoever moved first. Bob was sweating profusely in the sub-zero air. An artistic balance had been struck, creating a charged atmosphere. It looks like you and the new dad will get along well. Dad must be relieved. I put on a mask of a smile. The stage peeking through the mask looked like it was going to be a blast.
What do you mean?
What?
So it's true about you and Bob.
Well, Bob said he prefers younger women.
My daughter gave a cold smile and spoke triumphantly. My ex-wife stared at her with piercing eyes. Unfortunately, there were no signs of a mother-daughter relationship here. There was only the unsightly squabble between two women.
Do you have any idea what you've done?
Hey, Mom, all that lovey-dovey stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cringe-worthy for someone your age.
Shut up. Bob, don't just stand there, say something. You're my boyfriend, right?
Huh? No way, I don't want anything to do with this if there's no money.
Wah. What are you saying?
Phew, it's a good thing we didn't officially tie the knot. I'm out of here tomorrow.
Huh.
Can I come with you?
My daughter clung happily to his arm. She no longer needed to hide her infatuation. She was exuding an aura of being completely smitten.
Nah, impossible. You were just someone I wanted to enjoy thrills with. Your face is adorable, but I don't like people with bad personalities.
Bob forcefully shook off my daughter's arm and gave me a smirk.
So that's how it is. As of this moment, I'm a completely unrelated party, got it?
Bob said that and stood up, trying to leave. You really mean you're unrelated? The lower voice than I expected resonated in my throat. You've destroyed a married couple. You can no longer be considered unrelated.
That's because you were cold to Denise.
Even if that's proven, it doesn't justify the affair. Apparently, Bob also understood what I was getting at. Sweat started to appear on his forehead. I gave a sly smile. I'll be suing you for damages.
Stop it.
In a last-ditch effort, my ex-wife stepped between us.
Without any evidence. Don't take away our peace like that.
My ex-wife pleaded with me, her large eyes trembling. Sorry, but I do have evidence. Your mom collected it, just in case something happened. I released my words along with tears. I had the safe that my MIL had entrusted to me, saying,
Open it if something happens.
it contained all the evidence of my ex-wife's affair. If I had renounced the inheritance, there would have been nothing left. I believe this was the last keepsake from my concerned MIL. Seeing the photos, my ex-wife collapsed to her knees, bowing her head. I gently spoke to her in that state. Of course, I'll be suing you for damages as well. I looked at each face of the three of them, then bowed deeply and left the scene. I returned to my apartment and was having tea with Catherine.
Does it look like it goes well?
I was able to get to the point of suing for damages, so today was a big success.
It's a shame that the damages from the affair would likely be discharged in a bankruptcy filing.
That's fine, I got to see the three of them in despair. And since Denise is so proud, she might even manage to avoid bankruptcy. Either way, Denise will have to atone for her sins. That's enough for me.
It's amazing that someone as kind as you would say something like that.
And you, Catherine, may seem so gentle, but when it comes to legal matters, you really get serious, don't you?
It's part of my job.
Catherine blushed softly at my response. I'm definitely attracting Catherine. Once the ex-family has settled down a bit more, I'll try to convey my own feelings. I want to try being happy again. Both Denise and Bob ended up paying the damages. Which means they somehow managed to avoid bankruptcy. However, Denise lost credibility as an influencer. Her actions and behavior had apparently spread on social media. Now she's working multiple part-time jobs to pay the damages. Bob also got demoted at his company after the news spread that he had gone after both the mother and daughter. His income, which wasn't that high initially, has dropped by about 2/3, and he's working part-time jobs. Even the daughter, whom I had a lingering concern for, has been left behind, as she's now certain to repeat a year due to insufficient attendance at university. It's because the reason was oversleeping due to staying out late. I'm going to do my best to move towards a new happiness from now on.